Hello and welcome to another installment of Comparative Reasoning. I'm your host, Sidra Kennedy. Today we'll be talking about why do pro-lifers kill people? And this stems from a brief conversation on Twitter. And here's the thing, I don't try to have conversations on Twitter. Honestly, half of it is beneath me. I try not to, and although I get roped into very few, and I mean very few, the truth is there's no way to convey all that is needed, and Twitter Twitter conversations are mainly used for those that I don't have time to read so much, so let me try to get a year's worth of information and research inside of about 7 lines. That that's the mindset of most people. It used to not be. Education used to be a thing. And education was never about, at those times, following in line, following orders, and being obedient. It is now. Are you educated? Well, yes, I can regurgitate anything that's said to me. That's it today. You don't have to know it. You don't have to understand it. You just have to be able to repeat what you've heard. And all of this does stem into why we have what we have today. But I guess, you know what? I'm going to throw it on up here on the screen. And I'll read it directly from Twitter since that's larger. But it was a question. It says, question, how can one be pro-life and take other lives from people that has a different opinion of politics or something? And there's a little curious face up there. I guess that was needed. That is interrogative, I guess, was not enough. So I responded with, they don't have opinions. They have beliefs. They trust they are right. Although I spelled that wrong, are right. They trust they are right. Therefore others are therefore others are wrong. And then he says, that makes sense. I'm just baffled at the fact that innocent lives are being taken away by people that fuel with hatred. Fucking hate it. What do these people do to deserve death? Black, Asian, Latina, and others, and the ones who love chocolate, protesting and not bothering anyone. Throw a joke in there. Some people, they can't. It's hard to retain absolute seriousness. So you got to take it a little bit at a time, but understand that they do mean well. And while I've chosen to distance myself from certain things, I'm not going to, and topics, I'm not going to, I'm not going to waste the chance to educate someone to the best of my knowledge. And that's the difference between some of us and the rest of us. Because the rest of us, these statue protecting, loving racists, they don't educate based on the best of their knowledge. They educate based on what they are told. It's not like anything you hear you need to research. But if you hear something and you then hear anything that can contradict it, or even better, see something that can contradict it, you need to really think about what you were told. Think about who told you that. Do some research to figure out if it is true or not. Because when you don't care if something is true or not, then you do get racism. Racism is all about privilege. Racism isn't necessarily about control and domination. It's not. It could never be. Ultimately, that is the control and domination is not about over another group. It's over that group trying to be equal. See, these racists, they'll go out and they'll just live their lives. Their lack of teeth, lack of hair, lack of brain cells, wife beater shirt wearing, Confederate flag having lives. And it don't have to necessarily be that. They can wear 3-piece $5,000 suits with a nice little Republican comb over. They do all that. And yeah, I am speaking in a more or less propaganda way because these are the stereotypes that fit. Here's the thing. You can literally turn to any channel on your TV, any place on YouTube, or any place, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You have the evidence ad nauseum, not here and there. Maybe, possibly, I don't know. No, you literally see it. You've got racists that will get in there and say, oh, I love black people, while having not one black friend, not one black family member, never have dated or tried to date a black person, and definitely not allowing them in places of work or to exceed at their career in certain levels and areas and things like that. Oh no, racism holds down. And when the racism holds down long enough and those subjected to it try to stand up, that's when you see what you see today during the protests. That's why things are like that. Exceedingly brief history lesson. There was a point where black people and Native Americans on the East Coast was starting to, literally get together, commingle, and it was eventually going to go into more than that. But our president at the time said we can't have that. So if you natives want your land back, you go in, these natives, you want this land back and you want more land, you go in and you mess up those natives and those black people. You mess them up, kill them, and we'll give you all of this. So that happened. And once the deed was done, what happened? Did they get any land or anything? No. That's what that is. You don't want the minorities rising up to equality, not better. See, the racists in this country, they're the ones that fear the minorities rising up and ultimately doing to them what they've been doing. That's the true fear. If your parents have beat you down and hurt you, ostracized you your whole life, and they're starting to get older, they're starting to get weaker, and they're starting to ask you to do things, not because LOL or, well, you seem lazy or you're young, so do it. No, you need to help them. They get a little more, sometimes they get a little humble. They get a little humble because they know they don't deserve it. See, that's the deserve part. See, the question, well, the retort, it goes back into, why are you hurting people that don't deserve it? It's not about deserve to them. It's about you want to do something other than be a broken, slave-minded cog in the system of the United States. We can't have that. That's across the board of racism. Literally from the backwoods to the White House. That's the situation that you're in. That's what you're watching. That's what you're seeing. It's not right. It's not fair. And the reason why this all started is because there was a picture, and there was and I took notice this woman that was like, no masks, I have the right of choice, and it Trump and it has Trump 2020, and I'm thinking, you pro-lifers out there can't wait to kill and murder somebody. And this is just it. This is just one other version of it. Oh, sure. We want the government telling you what to do because we have, and that's why I wrote what I wrote. They have a belief. They use their religious belief because in religion, which nobody reads their Bible, they all say that, you have to have life. You can't destroy a child of God while God have killed millions of his children. I mean, if he created everything, then why drown it? Just saying. But people believe in the Bible. They don't know the Bible. They haven't read the Bible. They don't care to understand what's in the Bible, but they believe what's in it. So when you talk to them, they're not going to tell you what they've read. They're not going to tell you what they've learned. They'll just tell you what someone told them and cite that as in what they know. They don't have knowledge. They have belief. They don't have opinions. They have belief. An opinion is a thought you have. You do not trust in it. You do not distrust in it. It's a personal working hypothesis. That's what an opinion is. When you state a fact, it is something that can be proven, demonstrated, and either almost or completely predictable. When you have a belief, all that other stuff goes out the window. Someone told you, therefore it's true. You don't like these people, so anything you heard about them is true. Why do you not like these people? What have you been told? Because you certainly haven't learned anything. That's the difference. That's why these Confederate loving racists and these apathetic racists, we call them, your regular Democrat, they don't care. They don't have knowledge. They know it makes them money. These politicians, these establishment people, they know it makes them money. And being equal and being, supported never got them money. Supporting those who have the money got them money. That's what you're seeing. This is what you're seeing. They don't deserve anything that's happened to them. They are innocent. They are innocent to these racists. I mean, somebody could, there could be some, white guy that knocks over a liquor store, kill 4 people down the street, probably kill his sister. Then, 4 days later, some cop is mad. They're out there doing a protest because they truly do believe that black lives matter as much as any other life. They're not the racist ones shouting all lives matter. No, they are literally saying stop the racism. However, the cop just sees him and shoots him in the chest, and the person doesn't die, but someone will say, oh, you deserve it because, you've done something. No, see, that person, while they did murder people, knock over a liquor store, they were innocent to what that cop did. They were innocent to that. Now, if the person that they robbed at the liquor store and saw him kill 4 people on the way out, if they rolled up on him and cut his head off, well, see, that's at point that would be justifiable because that's part of the situation. You see, that's what makes somebody an innocent person. It's not that they have to be proven innocent, because no one in court is really proven innocent. Not really. The only ones that's ever been proven innocent, from my recollection of listening to multiple court trials and outcomes and verdicts and stuff, those are the innocent ones are the ones that had to get away with a racial crime. They are found innocent of it. Others are simply found not guilty, and not guilty is not the same as innocent. Not guilty says you may have done it, but we don't have enough to prove it. Innocent means that's the Central Park 5. They were innocent. Now, they might have done something somewhere else in their life, but not to that person. So they didn't get what they deserved, because they didn't rape anyone. You see what I'm saying? Trump wanted the Central Park 5, despite their innocence to that situation, wanted them to go to prison or receive the death penalty anyway. Every racist or apathetic white person out there wanted it. Some black people wanted it too because they trust in that racial system. And that's what is taught. That system has been taught and trained into black people for so long. Not only can racist white people go on TV and talk that trash and use their dog whistles and tell other racist white people, and I have to say that because there are a lot of white people that are not racist. So I have to be very, very distinct. They'll tell those other racist white people, yeah, black people should be hated because they're poor and they hurt themselves and, they're not law abiding like we are and all that crap. Bill O'Reilly had done it for a very long time. So black people listen. I mean, black people like, yeah, man, they're not understanding the dog whistles. I know. I was one of them. They didn't understand them. So, yeah, on the news, I would think, literally, they don't know me. They have no reason to lie to me. Just like you would probably think, if you watch the news, actually, which I'm probably sure a lot of you don't. And that's good. Save your brain. But they'll tell you what happened, per se. We found out that Michael Brown had robbed a liquor store and he took such gobs of money, strong-armed the person, and cited as a deadly weapon, strong-arming as a deadly weapon, because they would conflate strong-arming with holding a gun. So then, one thing leads to another, don't it? And black people that watch the news and not understand what's going on, what they'll say, why that boy do that? That don't make no sense. If he had a promising career and he was graduating with good honors and all this, and he was a stand-up person, why would he do that all of a sudden? Man, this world made no sense. And that's what would happen. People don't want to think past their own nose. They enjoy being stupid. That's just people in general. They enjoy it. It's hard, for those people to be accountable, understanding that their beliefs and their need to just take in information but never question it. It's hard for them to be accountable for what they are doing. That's why when I do my show, I put the onus on everybody. I'm not going to blame the politicians for our lot in life because we're the ones that voted them in. See what I'm saying? They can't hurt you if they are not in office. If you don't vote the racist into power, the racist will not have the power over you. And politicians used to be public servants. Now they are what we call leaders. They don't care about the truth. They care about the money. They care about the prestige. They care about their legacy. Name minorities that have that. Name them. Prestige, power, legacy. Politicians, they get remembered for a very long time. People on the ground, they don't. They're the ones that regale the prestige of that politician while fighting each other over which politician is best, when all the politicians are jacked up and crooked and corrupt. Every single one of them. And it's not even so much corruption as it is business as usual. When you ask a question like this, there's a lot involved. There's a lot. And it really boils down to money, greed, power. That's it. The Southern strategy, look it up. You can't. Nixon and them would never have a Southern strategy if there was not so much racism in the South. You find what people are stupid and ignorant to and will jump into belief, and then you use it against them for your own gain. It's that simple. If I do research and I find out that you are afraid of the ocean, you're scared of water like that, and you are somebody that have a lot of money, like billions and billions, nearly trillions, but you're spending it to buy politicians and get them to do what you want, all I have to do is explain to you and show you personally how climate change is affecting things. Siberia being near or in the 100 degrees. The Arctic being in the 60 to 70 degrees. That's going to melt ice. It can't insulate itself forever. And when that ice melts, not the ice is already in the water that's attached to land ice. It has to be the ice on the land that gets to the water, meaning it has to melt. If that hits the waters will rise. When the waters rise, the land we have will shrink. There will be more storms because there's more moisture in the atmosphere. There's more water than land. Storms can go further inland. And when I can prove that and show that, then you would be like, wait a minute, the ocean would come onto the beach? Oh, yes. And further, probably a mile or two inland. Where your home is, gone. It's underwater. You got all that money. Yo, you're going to jump to it then. You're going to buy politicians to make sure they do the right thing with climate change. That's what's going to happen. But we don't have that right now because everything in politics is old money, slave money, dated money. And I ain't talking about the money physically like dollar bills and whatnot. I'm talking about the quote unquote commodity of it, the oil. You know, that's what it is, the oil which they refined into gasoline. You know, electrical grids where you don't really need it, you could go solar. You know, cars and all this, instead of, you know, gas guzzling combustible engines like that, you could go, you know, electric. There's so many things, but old money has to protect old money, and old money drives climate change. It drives it. There are a lot of other little incremental things that drive it as well, but this is the most, and it's doing it at a rapid pace. You change it. But they don't want to hear that because these so-called pro-lifers, they are basically, I just want what I want and I'm not going to think about how it's contradicting. So while all of our choices lead to destroying any and everyone around us, so long as the white Christian Southerners live, then we're fine. That's the mindset. That's what they were taught. That's what they were raised. And now that's what they believe. And changing their minds isn't going to happen. When you find them and they talk that trash and they're recorded and all this, and then they get put on blast on TV, they always change their tone. That's not me. There's some excuse. I was so upset, or I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't taught that way. And yeah, same old, same old. If you weren't taught that way, you wouldn't speak that way. They have absolute conviction in their voice. It's what they have. So, you know, I would think that maybe I've hammered this in very well. I would hope. The reason I'm saying all this is because I just did not want to have a Twitter conversation on something that is so in depth, so deep. You know, it was. I think this was needed, and I would do these things again. You know. And for those that do know, they want to come on Discord and whatnot and chit chat and all that stuff. That's fine too. You know, have a conversation up there. You got questions, I will try to answer. And if I don't have answers, you know what? I'm going to tell you I don't know. And that's unsettling to a lot of people. Well, if you don't know, then how can I trust your words? I will trust the words of someone that says, I don't know, other than somebody that would say they know something and have no idea exactly or by any means of what they are actually trying to talk about. I would trust the one that says, oh, let me explain how this works, other than someone that says, oh man, that's the way it is because, you know, that's how God operates. So you want to take that God stuff to task, all this racism and beating on protesters. I guess that's God's work. I mean, if you believe in God, then you believe in white power. That's about how that go right now. Matter of fact, that's kind of how it always went. And it sucks. Do I have proof of that? Of course. As they say, religious people say, look around you. Because that's supposed to be evidence enough for some reason. Who's beating on who? Who's shouting white power? Who's shouting blue lives matter? Who's shouting all lives matter? Who's shouting all this for God? Who's shouting God gave us Trump? All this for God, in God's name. So if God wanted this. So if you believe in God, you're already pretty much a fool. And you're already halfway there to trusting these all lives matter racist people. The thing is, the separation is you probably get the chance to grow up and be ostracized. So you get to see a few things from the outside and not being privileged on the inside. As well as if you are privileged on the inside, just like when the civil rights movement walked into Selma, how people got to see these people peacefully protesting, walking silently, holding their signs in their best dressed outfits, and then see the police descend upon them and beat the hell out of them. And I think a few got killed. I think. But just mercilessly beat these people that did nothing to anyone other than challenge the status racist quo. And that's what they did. They challenged racism and they wanted equality. Not to be better, just to be equal. And that's what racists can't have. Because if you're equal to them, what level of retribution are you going to get? So why do pro-lifers kill people? Because they're protecting their business, their tradition. That's what they're doing. They don't want equality. They want superiority. Because if you rise up and you're a rebel rouser, you ruined it. You can't have things being equal a hook. That's how that works. So I'm going to get out of here. I hope I answered everything. And if you got other questions, you can put them down here in the comment section, or I guess on Twitter. I'll probably be able to find them if Twitter shows it up in time. But yeah. And in time meaning, before 2 or 3 days are up. Sometimes I get stuff 17 hours later or something. I don't know why it does that. But yeah, this has been Cedric Kennedy for Comparative Reasoning. Thank you for listening.